Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DEO Growth Secrets. I'm your fearless host, Emmet Scott, and I'm here today with Jay Hogan and Dr. Abramowitz. And I'm excited about the innovation that they're driving. This is the first time we've been able to dig in to PerfectFit Ortho. And let's be honest, right now, we're all kind of working on two main parts of the barbell here. It's either how do I increase revenue or how do I drive down costs? Now, as business owners, we're always trying to think that through, get that to the next level. But this is going to be that innovation that maybe touches on each side of it. And I'm grateful to have both of them here. Now, Jay and I were talking before the show, and I just want to do this as a side note, but Jay served in Iraq for 15 months and appreciate his service. But we were talking about I had in one of my coaching groups a Navy SEAL, and he said something that frankly kind of made me feel cool for a minute, and then also made me feel a little overwhelmed. But he said, being a Navy SEAL, going on different missions, tough, really tough. He said, being an entrepreneur, his anxiety's way higher. And part of it was that they have so much structure within their system, and they have so much protocol. And so I was asking Jay, like, how true do you feel? Because, I mean, Jay, you were doing some pretty high-level stuff there. How's being an entrepreneur in this environment versus that service?
I think he hit the nail on the head. I think it is much more challenging to be an entrepreneur. I think there's a lot more unknowns, a lot more things that you don't even know what you don't know when you're trying to put together a game plan or SOPs or contingency plans. And I think that, in the military, you have a lot more people that you surround yourself with. Your infrastructure, your team is a lot larger. There's a lot more support. Whereas from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's kind of sink or swim. So I definitely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, I think some of that's just important when we're all out there going, man, why don't I know the answer to this? And the reality is because this is a very creative game that we're all playing. And the pieces keep changing based on macroeconomics, based on community things, based on patient customer sentiment, based on competition in the marketplace, not in dental, but just in other places people can spend their money and where they're looking for convenience. So it's just good to remember. And it's great to be part of 250 organizations within DEO, where we're all sharing kind of best practices everywhere from practices that just started all the way to those doing 300 million or more. So Jay, why don't you start us off, give a little bit of your background, and then Dr. Abramowitz, and then I'd love to kind of walk in because you guys are doing something innovative here. And I'd like to understand, what that is for those listening.
Sure. My name is Jay Hogan. I've been in dentistry since 2005. I've worked everywhere from private practice to DSOs, specialties, acquisitions, mergers, sales. It's been a jack of all trades, master of none type of situation. Dr. A and I have been working together for almost 5 years now. Started by recognizing kind of a need that Dr. A identified real early on that a lot of general dentists in our area had that were referring to our brick and mortar practices. And as we've kind of expanded on his idea, we've rolled out a service that we think there's not many dentists or organizations in the country that couldn't use it. So it's been very exciting going through that process from start to now where we are. We've come a long way in a very short amount of time.
So Dr. Abramowitz, you're an orthodontist, correct? And so you've been in the thick of a lot of this, and now you're innovating in this space. What was the main thing that you saw? And, you can tell us a little of your background, but what was it that you saw that you said, I think there's an opportunity here that no one's addressing?
Yeah, thanks, Emmett. So yeah, I've been doing orthodontist now for going on 17 years. And it's changed a lot from when I graduated from residency till today. And it's continuing to evolve at a very rapid pace. And my goal was always to create quality treatment at an efficient service. And as aligners started to really pick up, and AI, we all know what that's doing. And I was able to kind of put the pieces together, especially during COVID, where it was like, this is the time to initiate, PerfectFit Ortho, because here we are where patients are starting to understand the convenience of having aligners. And I become very aware that, the specialty of orthodontics, it's a specialty that can be replicated, by their primary care dentist, but it's a specialty that if you don't do it full time, you just don't become aware of so many of the intricacies involved. So how could I take everything and kind of do what's best service for our patients? And when I say our patients, I mean, not just mine, but every single individual primary care dentist, because they're their patients and they're with them from beginning to end. I'm talking like, they might see them for their entire life. Whereas as orthodontists, we just play that small role of time in orthodontic treatment. And so as I ventured into the multiple clear aligner companies, I started to realize that, the people doing these case setups are somewhere in another country and they're not orthodontists. And the case setups I get when I do it on my cases, they were not very good. So as I started to,
was that kind of your crisis point? Because
that's my crisis point. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Because when I'm collaborating with dentists and they're telling me, yeah, I approve the first case, I'm like, well, I go through 7 until I approve it. And so I started to realize there's something that's not right here and it's not right for our patients. And so I was able to put together a great collaboration process with Jay, where we're able to bring orthodontics and that orthodontic philosophy that I've developed over my 17 years, and we're able to kind of bring it to the dentist so they can provide it directly to their patients.
Can we get nerdy for just a second? Like
Yeah.
what, and I'm not saying I'll understand everything you say, by the way, but when you're going through and you're looking, and why were you going through 7? Like what was it that you typically noticed that they just missed? And if the patient, here would be the counter argument. If the patient doesn't know or doesn't care, why did you care?
Okay, so let's start with the first thing. When I would do things, it's not the patient doesn't care, it's just they don't know what an orthodontist is talking about, right? They don't know what we're talking about. And as I recalled back, and one of the aha moments was in dentistry, I remember setting up those dentures for the first time and having to do all those wax setups and understanding smile and the muscles and how the teeth are supposed to look for what we call our ideal position. Okay, well, Invisalign does not do that. None of the clear aligners do that. They just set up teeth. And what they don't know is the intricacies that we need to incorporate to get that perfect smile, which I like to say is when the incisal edges follow the curve of our lower lip while we smile, and ideally where the upper lip is completely parallel to the gingival margins of all the upper teeth. So that's a real summary of the intricacies in it that just Invisalign and none of the clear aligners can actually provide. They just can't because of the software yet. They might be getting there, but they just don't do it. So why does it become 7? Because I have to redirect how the smile is supposed to look. I have to redirect how the movement of the teeth go, because they don't always work out like it says it would digitally. I have to edit the way the bite gets corrected. And that just doesn't happen with that first version.
So you're not just an orthodontist, like you're a nerd out, fully understand the intricacies orthodontist. And you actually think that you could give that level of quality, but still here would be my other argument is, okay, great. So let's go for perfection. But then are we going to be at, 10 times the cost to get there?
So the cost is the interesting factor here. And that's what I think Jay and I are really trying to bring is the cost of orthodontics is usually spread over a treatment that could go anywhere from a year to up to 3 years. That's our cost. And as we go with our clientele, the dentist offices, they've got this cost, and a lot of them have had concern about the number of trays. And my thing is, don't worry about the number of trays. Let's look at the entirety of treatment time. Because for me, a standard case was about 1.5 to 2 years. And if you convert that to aligners, we're talking in the aligners in the 40s to 60s, right? I'm not talking about 12 aligners to fix a case that'd be in braces for 2.5 years. You need aligners for almost 2.5 years to fix that case. And so when we can, start to bring out the awareness that any case that needs any type of orthodontic treatment can be treated with aligners, as long as the doctor has a comfort level with the number of cases.
So what happens as far as the cost component of this to reach that level of perfection? Are you able, like, if someone said, hey, I can do it better than XYZ competitor, it's just 10 times the cost to do that.
So that would be a difference between, my philosophy and then whatever our clients do for their patients, right? So as my orthodontist, I'll tell you my side is we've created what we call levels, and the levels are no longer based on treatment time. So let me step back to the boredom of the passive orthodontics. Insurance would basically pays on time and treatment. As I've learned about orthodontics and the efficiencies and the aesthetics, I've learned that I can do things faster. So I stopped charging by time and I start charging what I call a level. And the level for me would be anywhere from simple, routine, or complex. Those are my 3 levels. So let's say level 1 would be a case that I think I used to charge for a year. Now that became level 1. And you know what? I might finish level 1 in 6 months, but that's the level 1. Level 2 might be an old 2-year case, right? So in the old days, it would take me 2 years. Now that might just take me a year. But that case had that challenge where I said, you know what? We're entitled to charge up to what used to be a 24-month treatment. Okay, it's okay if it takes us a year or 8 months. You're paying for the service, for the challenges that
people want results, right?
Exactly.
They're not actually looking at. There's kind of that joke, right, where dentist goes in, solves the problem, relieves the patient from pain, does it quickly, efficiently, charges the patient. The patient goes, "Holy smokes, it's this much? You only spent this much time." And the doc goes, "Well, I can spend more time in your mouth next time if you want," right? So it's like, well, no, that's not actually what I wanted. So what you're saying is get the patient's mindset around results and not around time and braces. Now, Jay, you said that, before, I hope it's okay if I share this, that last 25 docs you've talked to, 24 of them have said, yeah, I'm interested and signed up. What is it that are the deciding factors? It's like, because there's a lot of competition in the space of aligners.
Well, the value proposition is this: we work with every aligner manufacturer. So it's the doctor's choice on what aligner they choose to use. What our service offers is, I'll give you an example. We did a survey of doctors from Maine to California. We asked 100 of them, how many of your patients on average come into your practice and have some form of malocclusion? 85%. We then asked the same doctors, how many of those patients do you present treatment plans to? Give them an opportunity to say yes and to start orthodontic treatment in your office. Less than 20% of those. So what we do is we tell the general dentist, use whatever aligner you're happy with, whatever manufacturer you like that you're comfortable with, continue using that. We will set the cases up on your behalf. So we will design the case with your aligner manufacturer. When the case gets delivered to you, we will then monitor your patient on a weekly basis remotely. So we're telling the doctor, now you can present treatment to all of your patients. We will do the setup. Once the doctor is happy with it, they will approve it. The case gets delivered. The patient downloads an app on their phone and then scans their teeth every week. And then we triage those patients. We work with them directly via dental monitoring, which is the software that we use, so that we can check occlusion, we can check elastic wear, hygiene, aligners, and work with those patients in hopes that the patient spends less arbitrary time in the practice as possible. We want the doctors to see those patients when they have to, not because it's been 4 weeks and they should see the patient. And the value to the doctor is such that they get to start more cases, they spend much less time doing them, less dead chair time, and they get better results. All of those things are all encompassed under one roof. So we provide them everything they'll need to be successful presenting and selling cases. And then in addition to that, all of our general dentists that work with our program are given the opportunity for a 15-minute virtual consult, meaning that if a general dentist has a patient in their chair and that patient has malocclusion and they know they need treatment, but they're not sure what type or how long or what will be involved, they will take some photos and send them to us. And within 15 minutes, we will tell that doctor everything they need to know, how long the treatment will take, if they'll need IPR, if they'll need engagers or attachments, if they'll need elastics. All of that happens in real time. And then in addition to that, once that treatment plan is presented to the patient in the office by one of the office staff members, if that patient, for whatever reason, decides, I need to think about it, I need to talk to mom and dad, husband, wife, brother, sister, we will then follow up with those patients on behalf of the practice for the next 90 days. We will reach out to them via email, via text, and every touch point we make with that patient is another opportunity for that patient to start their treatment plan. So it's really a matter of, do you want to do more aligners? Do you want to spend less time doing them? And, profit's not a bad word. And you want to make more money in the process? No pun intended, we're the perfect fit.
So the problem you're solving in the marketplace, I saw as we were scaling our DSO. Any specialty that you want to start as a general dentist, initially you're like, I'll go take these CEs and I'll roll this out, etc. But then it's clinical and it gets complex fast. And there's all this operational component. And you realize very quickly, like, this is, even with the support of the aligners and so forth that they give, it just feels a little outside your comfort zone. And it's almost like with your finances where you have that bookkeeper and you're like, but I'd really love to have a fractional CFO who got this to the next level. What you guys are offering, and I hope I frame this right, so you can push back if not, but it's really like a fractional chief orthodontics officer, right?
That's the easiest way to put it, Emmett. We are your virtual orthodontist. It's so instead of having to refer that patient out or invest the time, chair time, money and resources, you use us when you need us, and we work in the background the entire time. We have practices now that are getting virtual consults that come in at all times of day and night because we put a widget on each practice's website. So patients can visit that website or that widget via multiple channels. Some of our better practices run marketing campaigns that specifically funnel patients to that widget. Patients from home will take photos and we will send them a treatment plan, and the patients are executing them, making their down payments, setting up their monthly payments, and they've never stepped foot in the practice. So it's just a way for these doctors to keep more of their treatment under their roof, but without the unintended consequence of, like you would acknowledge, time and money.
Yeah, because what I found is once you get to that aha where you're like, I need somebody on the clinical team who's going to run the rest of this staff, who's going to answer these questions, who are going to help me figure out these processes, who are going to take care of these nuances. And I'm looking at all of these vendors who are innovating on the aligner space, but I've got change management, I've got patient management issues. It's not like I need a new plastic. It's not like I need a new technology there. I need a new like operational management support is what I really need, right? And so then what happens is you go, all right, who do we want to hire? What orthodontist do we want to hire? And it's super expensive, you know, which I'm not saying it shouldn't be, it just is. It's like hiring a very high-end executive, except they're also a clinician. They have to be innovative. They have to be willing to teach and train other doctors. It's just so many skill sets. And then they probably want some equity and they probably want this and that. And so now you got this new fixed cost that you're like, wait, we haven't even done any aligners yet or ortho or whatever, right? And I've got this big cost coming in. So you got to be very dedicated and you hope it's the right person, right? In a situation like this, you know, one of the things we teach at DEO is leverage off the DEO peer-to-peer, leverage off the vendors, and then go to fractional before you go to full-time. And you guys are really creating that ability for someone to say, okay, if I had my own chief dental officer just over ortho, and they were like overlooking and training my team and helping my associates get to the next level. I've got these 5 docs. I could increase revenue by X amount, but I also can't have them have a heavy load because they're seeing patients and they're doing clinical treatment on them. So that was also the other part that always became an issue is, hey, general dentist, do this. Hey, general dentist, do that. You know, hey, team, do this. But you know, even the chief dental officer didn't know enough to know how to support on that new specialty, right?
Sure.
So you guys are layering that in a cost-effective way. And is ultimately, let's say I have 3, 10, 20 practices, whatever it might be, I'm increasing revenue, right? That's
the craziest part is your aligners, orthodontics will become one of the most profitable things a general dentist does in their practice when they're using PerfectFit. Because you have patients who you may be having an 18-month treatment plan who you may only see twice. You may see them the day the aligners are delivered and the day that they're debonded, because everything else we are doing remotely as we monitor these patients. In addition to that, the other value for DSOs especially is continuity of care. You know, too often in DSOs, you have associates that come and they may stay a while, they may go, they may open their own practices. And then you have new associates that fall in and they may not want to take over that crown delivery that someone else prepped, or they may not want to deliver that partial denture that someone else had gone through that process with. We are the constant within that entire process because we are always the ones monitoring those patients, and we do it on a weekly basis. And the other value addition that you mentioned a moment ago, these doctors are under no obligation with us. In theory, a doctor could have a patient in their chair do a 15-minute virtual consult with us, present the treatment plan. The patient could sign it, make a down payment, set their monthly payments up. We could start designing the case. It could go to the doctor and say, hey, it's ready for approval. The doctor could look at it at that point in time and say, you know what, I'm just not comfortable with doing this case. It's outside of my scope. I'm going to refer it out. The doctor's not charged a penny. The doctor only pays our practice or our organization, when the case is approved. Once the case goes into production, that's when we charge the doctors. Otherwise, the world is their oyster, so to speak. And in addition to that, with every general dentist, we give them a specific link and they can schedule at any point in time they want a video consult with Dr. A or our other orthodontist that we have on staff to discuss specific individual cases, go through the scans, look at the photos, the x-rays, have that dialogue at any point in time they want. So at the same time, these general dentists are improving their skill set. They're continuing to grow in their education at the same time.
So there have been ability to identify additional revenue, because I'll just zoom out as a business person here for a second. I've spent the money on marketing. I spent the money on scheduling. I've spent the money getting the chair ready, x-rays, etc. If I'm not increasing the value, especially in this environment, we talk all the time, like I'm not Home Depot. I can't go over and just change the price of wood, right? I can't just increase the price of the Apple phone. I'm working against insurance most of the time that's got a fixed cost. What I have to do and what I can do is increase the value of that patient by providing them more care, providing them more of what they need anyway. But I need to do it in a cost-efficient way that doesn't bog down the rest of the system. And that's what you guys are USB porting in. Now, I'm going to push you a little bit. So if I'm like de novo, I'm new, like this is a no-brainer. Like I should talk to you guys and say, okay, I've been wanting to do aligners, but I feel overwhelmed by it. I've done, X number of CE credits, or I haven't done it even yet. Like, where do I start? What should I do? No-brainer. What if I'm like in the middle? Like I've been doing it, I'm clunky, my staff hates it. I could see the potential. I run the numbers all the time and I'm like, guys, we should be doing more. And then I don't, or I'm like, maybe I had an orthodontist that was helping me, but then they left and, went to Florida or somewhere beautiful like that. So do you guys help in those like transition midway situations too?
So we have clients in all lengths of the spectrum. We have doctors that we work with who have never done an aligner case in their entire life, and they're brand new. We have a doctor, actually, we just signed a doctor 2 months ago in Saratoga, California, who came to us and said, we are going to stop doing aligners, period, because we are a general dentist practice. We have 150 active patients right now. We no longer have capacity. It's not that we're not comfortable with aligners. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of them. We just no longer have the physical capacity to continue having these patients in and having the manpower to service them. Right. And they came to us and we went through our spiel, so to speak, and explained to them how we do what we do. And they signed with us in the same day and said, we're not doing any more cases unless we run them through PerfectFit, because their value was chair time. They can't have these patients in every 4 weeks. We have other practices who, like you alluded to, are comfortable. They send us the challenging cases. We have some doctors that don't send everything they have to us, and most doctors send it all. It's really, there's different points of emphasis for each doctor.
You guys are very flexible to meet them where they're at and to meet their, really what they're able to do is make you an investment, not a cost, right? Because it's like, I wouldn't do this, but let me go ahead and use PerfectFit. Okay, great, I got that revenue, right?
Yep.
And if they think it's a no-brainer and I can handle it myself, great. But if they're like, I want to grab that revenue, but I need the extra ladder, then you guys are that extra ladder.
That's it.
And what some of the practices find is they try to compartmentalize it or a la carte it until they realize that they want us to monitor those patients. And then they just think, you know what, it's easier for us to just do it one way and be done with it.
100%, because then they can go and just focus on, general dentistry is tough, right? So then they can go focus on all of that and make this a passive income stream that's feeding into the business. And with Dr. Abramowitz, who's like perfectionist and says, no, I want this case at this level, like the comfort levels, like, I wasn't going to be that detailed anyway. So you're just driving us to, okay, one of the issues I have with just aligners, this isn't you guys, and I don't know that you don't have a solution for this, but you're solving probably one of the biggest ones, which is all the change management, all the monitoring, all the chair time, et cetera, that it eats up on the facility. Because when I look at, entrepreneurs only fear two things. One is failure, the other is success. And ortho is one of those things where if it's successful, two bad things happen. One is all your chairs get taken up, right? And you don't have enough facility. So you guys are solving that. The other is like our team has to like manage now this whole business line. You guys are taking care of that. This is the part you guys don't take care of, but I'm wondering if you have a recommendation on it. A lot of these aligners are charging their lab fee up front, but I'm only collecting it from the patient. So if I like really take off my cash flow, has anyone solved that yet? Like, is there a aligner company out there that's like financing the lab fee or breaking this up so that it aligns with what the patient payments are? I know I'm asking something that's outside of your guys' group.
No, it's actually not. And we're actually working on a solution to that right now. So Jay, why don't you update them?
Did I just like tee you guys up perfectly?
You
or
did.
something?
You did, Emmett. And
well, I'm just looking
at
the problems. Like
Yeah.
this has got to get solved if we're going to scale, because I
Yeah.
always say this phone does not cost me $1,200. It's $39 a month.
Yep.
And
Right.
so we've done that for the consumer, but the supplier's not doing that for us. So if I sold 1 million cases, I would go bankrupt. That's what would happen, right?
Yeah. So we've talked with multiple different aligner manufacturers about trying to have some specific payment structures for dentists as it relates to volume. But even more so, we are in talks, and I'm not at liberty yet to say with who, but we are in talks with two major players in the third-party finance space that are not currently in the ortho field or in the dental field at all, that we are going to integrate with, so that we will then allow these general dentists, when they're presenting these treatment plans, to get full funding within 3 days. So when the patients sign their treatment plan, they like you alluded to, when I buy a car, I've never written a check for a car, and I don't think I probably ever will. And we tell a lot of these dentists, when a patient says to you, I need to be able to afford it, they're not saying I'm writing you a check. They're saying, how do I make this fit into my budget? So with these third-party financiers that we're working with, these general dentists are going to get a check for their patients or their payment in full within 3 business days.
Okay,
so it's really going to alleviate some of that cash
on
flow.
the patient side, which is even more frankly ideal because I'm getting profit day one. So, but you're not solving the lab bill except for giving the patient more power to just pay the whole thing up front. Basically.
Well, no, the third-party financing arm that we're using will still extend payments to the patient. The third-party financer is going to write a check to the doctor,
right,
and with it in full within 2 to 3 days, so that they'll be able to support that cash flow with their
aligners. So I'll be able to pay the absorbent lab bill that I'm getting day one because I got the entire case, which means I got all the profit within 3 days of the, and then I offloaded the entire liability of the service to you guys.
Yep.
Exactly. So no chair
I'm
time.
Profit, and I'm offloading the actual support to you all during the time. I mean, it's beautiful from a business perspective. And it sounds like from a clinical perspective, and I'll let the orthodontist, talk to Dr. Abramowitz and poke on, but I don't know a lot of dentists out there that are going through 7 times with these guys, or even 2 times. Yeah. So if you've got that level of perfectionism, and from a clinical perspective, I could imagine that having like a Dr. Abramowitz, like, okay, I basically have a buyer's, an owner's rep. So like in construction, you got the contractor, and what these big companies have is they have their own contractor who represents them. Yep. That says, I'm going to look through everything in your bids and drive down and make this perfect. You guys are basically an owner's rep. Or orthodontics.
Yeah, and that's a great analogy. We're like basically a construction contractor for your orthodontic needs. And as far as the subcontractors go, we'll take care of it. You don't worry about that. Yeah. That's our end.
Yeah. It's powerful, guys. I love it. I have not heard of this in the space, but one of the things when I'm going now to vendors and I go to these conferences, they're showing me this amazing innovation here, and here. And the question I'm asking is, great, so how do I integrate this? Like, who's going to help me with the change management? Who's going to help me figure out this piece and that piece? And as we're scaling, as we're dealing with team members, like we can't just say to them, here's a new load you have on yourself, right? Sure. Especially associate docs. So I love that you guys have found this niche. It's brilliant, and they're solving it in the space.
We also provide that support, Emmett, so that when we onboard a doctor, it's not just a plug and play situation. Depending on size of the DSO and size of the staff and availability, we either train on location at each individual location, or we do it via Zoom to bring everyone up to speed so that everyone understands the workflow. Everyone understands not only what we're doing, but why we do it the way that we do. And it's very, very seamless. We onboarded a DSO in the end of March. Their first month in April, they sent 50 virtual consults in 30 days, and they had never done aligners before.
Wow.
So it's just,
well, yeah, because they
just
have
a matter
confidence now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they have an
Yep.
entire ortho team. So
Yep, exactly.
it's awesome. It's awesome. I love what you guys are doing. I'm thrilled that we got this set up to chat. I had no idea coming into this. I just know what the problems are in the industry. So when I see someone who's solving them, I'm absolutely thrilled. Tell us your contact info. Like if somebody's listening to this and they're like, yeah, I've been like struggling and I just need to get this off my plate. I don't want to give up the revenue, but I can't take on the complexity anymore either. So how do they reach out to you?
So they can always go to our website. It's PerfectFitOrtho.com. And they can, from that point, you can look at video testimonials from doctors that we work with currently. You can look at our workflow and understand the process. You can also reach out to us, and there's a button that says contact sales. You can click that and sign up for a 30-minute demo via Zoom. And most of our doctors, by the time they're done with that, we send them a service agreement. There's no time obligation to it. It's literally on a case-by-case basis. And it's really that simple. So PerfectFitOrtho.com, and you can reach both of us from there.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited to see how you guys continue to expand this and support it. I'm definitely a fan. I think this is needed in like every specialty space. I think this is needed. All that innovation around AI. We need like a Perfect Fit Ortho, like help manage my AI, or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for taking on this niche. Thanks for being on here and just bringing value. This is why we need all of us. Like we're not competing against other dentists. We're competing against everywhere else customers can spend their money, and they want to spend it. Like who doesn't want a perfect smile?
Right.
The patients are going to do it. It's just a matter of, are we going to provide them a disservice by allowing them to do it themselves? Right. I don't want to cast aversions on any particular organizations, but there are challenges with going direct to consumer. You can't correct bites. You can't place attachments. You can't wear elastics. And more often than not, when patients make that decision that they want to do that, they're going to go somewhere. Why not have the opportunity to keep them there with you? They already trust you. They already like you. They already listen to you. They're there every 6 months for cleanings. Why not offer them that service? Why not give them an opportunity to see their doctor 7 times more, but spend 7 times less time in the actual office?
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Dr. Abramowitz, any closing remarks?
No, I mean, you got it on there. It's all about, in a world of efficiency where we got to give the patients what they want. I mean, they trust us. Like we said, they're part of our family and we're part of theirs. And I think it's super important to give them the quality treatment they want at the hours they want with the people they trust. And that's, their primary dentist. So, together, it's all about collaboration and abundance. And we don't have to worry about anything else. Let's just take care of the patients and all this stuff will come to us. Listen, don't go check out Perfect Fit Ortho unless you want to increase your revenue and make your life a little easier. That's that too. So yeah.
There you go.
Well, hey, thank you all so much. And thank you to all of our listeners. If you want to dig into this a little bit more, come over to our Facebook page at DEO Growth Secrets. And until next time, keep smiling.